I'm playing around with my height.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and start the webinar. So people are going to start filtering in, just FYI. Good morning, everyone who is slowly but surely starting to join. I hope everyone is doing well on, what's today? Tuesday, of course, it's Tour Tuesday. Just telling my fellow panelists that apparently I'm not ready for winter. I have three heaters blowing on me. So if you hear some background noise, it is that. It's me in this cave. I'll give another minute or so for folks to join us, and then we will get started. Full disclosure, I really like watching the participants number go up. It's like the closest we get to like seeing friends come into a room now. I'm like, oh, welcome all 42 of you. All right. All right, it seems like we've hit critical mass. Hello to the 60 of you that are out in the airwaves with us this morning. I'm going to go ahead and get us started, introduce you to the real folks you came to hear from today. Thank you so much for joining us for this month's Tour Tuesday. My name is Megan McGuire, and I work as United Way's Community Engagement Manager. I have the great pleasure of working with our Tour Tuesday series. If this is your first Tour Tuesday with us, welcome. Tour Tuesdays serve as an opportunity for folks to get an inside look at the great work happening in our community through United Way's funded partner agencies. So for our fellow nonprofit staff on the call, this is a great way to learn about services and service providers and clients that might be beneficial to your, programs that might be beneficial to your own clients. For those looking to get involved, this is a great way to hear about current opportunities for engagement, albeit virtually. And for our United Way donors, this is a fantastic opportunity to hear directly from the agencies and the programs who are putting your dollars to work in our community. During today's tour, we'll take a deep dive into the Family Collective. Starting in 2014, the Family Collective, originally called the Family Empowerment Program, which I apologize in advance if I call it that, we're all still getting on that page, new acronym, seeks to address homelessness, connect families to sustainable opportunities, and to ultimately disrupt cycles of poverty. The Family Collective is a cohort of agencies that work together to provide services for families at risk of or currently experiencing homelessness. In the last 6 years, this work has grown tremendously, with the cohort expanding to new agencies in Davidson County, but also in Cheatham, Robertson, Rutherford, and Williamson counties. Today, you'll have the opportunity to learn about this work from the ground up. We have the pleasure of being joined by Nicole Peismanen, who's an Associate Director of the Family Collective here at United Way of Greater Nashville, Kristen Swan, the Rutherford County Coordinator for the Family Collective at United Way, and Nicole Bailey, who serves as a family coach at Catholic Charities, serving families at the Magruder Family Resource Center. Together, they'll demonstrate how agencies have come together across the region to collaboratively drive large-scale, lasting social change through collective impact. As a reminder, at the end of today's session, attendees will have the opportunity to ask questions to our panelists through the Q&A box. So please hold those great questions till the end, type them in the Q&A box, and I will share them with our panelists. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to our panelists for the morning. We'll start with my colleague, Nicole, who will share a bit more about the Family Collective and United Way of Greater Nashville's role in this work. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, thank you so much, Megan. Okay, so let me share my screen. I hope y'all are all doing well today. It's good to see, well, not see you all, but I can see your names, so I know you're there. But it's so nice to be here, and thank you for having us, Megan. Yeah, my name is Nicole Peaspinen, and I work here at United Way with the Family Collective. And so my role here is Associate Director of Collective Care, and so really that just means I'm here to support the work of all of our partner agencies and all the staff that we have throughout the Family Collective. So some of you may be familiar with the Family Collective and some of you may not, but the Family Collective is really an initiative of United Way of Greater Nashville. And our focus is really around preventing and ending family homelessness. So this initiative is made up of multiple agencies, multiple partner agencies, and staff at those agencies that are doing this incredible work. Each agency kind of has their own program, and all of those programs kind of fall under this umbrella of the Family Collective. So we just want to talk about that a little bit today, but really, like Megan said, our work is around addressing homelessness, specifically family homelessness. We want to connect families to sustainable resources, to sustainable opportunities, and we also want to disrupt the cycles of poverty, because we know that that's a huge piece in making sure that families can move out of poverty. So historically, we have served just Davidson County, but as Megan mentioned earlier, as of October, we were able to grow this work and expand to Robertson, Cheatham, Williamson, and Rutherford counties. So we are very excited about that. This is very new for us. We're still working on meeting with partners and just finding the right fit for the right agencies in these areas to really provide what those specific communities need. So hopefully more to come on that soon, and you'll hear from Kristen in just a little bit, who can talk a little bit more about that in Rutherford County specifically. But I just kind of wanted, sometimes I know it's hard when you think about United Way, and we have so many initiatives here, right? So I wanted to give everybody a little bit of an overview of what the Family Collective specifically looks like and how it works. So if you look at the top here, the yellow boxes, that's the funding that we receive for this work, for the Family Collective. So this work started back in 2014, and it started with some seed money from the Seymour Institute. And we received $100,000 to get this work going. And the Seymour Institute, they fund more than 50 cities across the nation, and they're really looking to support agencies and United Ways that are doing what we call a two-generational approach. So we're working with families, not just the parent and not just the child, but we're really addressing both the child and the parent, because we know that that's going to create sustainable change, is approaching it as this two-generational way of looking at the family holistically, right? So the other thing that the Seymour Institute is really interested in is student mobility. We know that children who are unstably housed, they're missing a lot of school, and they're oftentimes not able to stay in school, their school of origin, throughout the year. So that is really important to us and to the Seymour Institute. And so all that to say, we're so grateful for them, because back in 2014, they allowed us to start this work. But since then, we still get money from them yearly, but we also receive, a lot of what we receive is from some of you all who are corporate partners and donors who are giving to this work to make this possible. And then lastly, we receive money from the Tennessee Department of Human Services. Annually, we have a contract with them to provide these services to families in these counties. So what happens is all of that money and that funding that you see in the yellow boxes, that comes to us here at United Way of Greater Nashville. And then we here at United Way then distribute that money to all of our partner agencies. And so if you look here, all of these counties, these are the funded partners that the Family Collective works with. So when we talk about the Family Collective, we are talking about programs serving families at all of these agencies, and all of those people together make up the Family Collective. I know it's a little ambiguous, so I hope that this helps kind of give you a picture of what we're talking about. At United Way, for the most part, we don't do direct service. Now, the Financial Empowerment Center does, but for the most part, the Family Collective, we're just kind of here to help this work at the different agencies that you see below. So just to give you an idea about what we do, because I know a lot of people, as you just saw on that screen, you think that we're really just kind of here as funders. And so what I just briefly wanted to show you today was kind of the piece that we at the Family Collective here at United Way provide to really build that system of capacity. We know that it takes that piece along with service implementation. So service implementation, that's those agencies that you just saw. They're the ones actually on the ground doing the work with families. And so we're system capacity here at United Way, service implementation, that's our partners. And we really want to work together to create these two generational outcomes. So what does United Way do outside of distributing money? We really want to wrap all of these things around our partner agencies to make sure that they are ready and they are capable and they are prepared to serve families in the best way that they can. So as you see here, a big part of what we do at United Way is we provide training and professional development for our service implementation agencies. So we want to make sure that the folks that are providing direct service have training and opportunities to learn about how do you work with a family in crisis, or how do you utilize motivational interviewing when working with a family. Also, how do you approach the family from a trauma-informed lens? Those things are so important. So we want to make sure that our family coaches and our direct service staff have that ability. So we are working on a training certification program for individuals in the community as well as the Family Collective that touches on a lot of these subjects and makes sure that they're prepared. And the other piece is coalition building. So we at United Way are working on creating some advisory councils in all of the counties that we're working in to make sure that the services we're providing are informed by the community. We want to make sure that it's what the community needs. We don't want to just come in and tell everybody what they need, because that's not right. That's not approaching this in the way that we need to approach this. So we want to make sure that we're serving families in the way that they need. But data management and evaluation. So United Way also is in charge of all of the data management. It's so fun. But we take all the information from all of our direct service partners and we manage that in a system. And we are also able to then pull out from that system, are we meeting our outcomes? We work with the state of Tennessee to say, hey, we're going to meet these outcomes. And these are the things that we're going to do with the money you're providing us. So we're able to use that data management. Sometimes I go between data and data. That's just me, but data management to see is the work we're doing, is it really making a difference? And if something's not working, let's change it. Let's readjust. And then the last piece that we know just encompasses all the other pieces is racial equity. So we want to be very intentional about making sure that all of our services are racially equitable. We acknowledge that there are racial disparities, and we want to work to be intentional about the way that we approach this. So we have been working for the last year with a consultant group called the Burnett Group to help us address these issues all the way from United Way down to direct service staff, how we hire, how we engage the community, those things matter. So this is just a brief overview of what we do at United Way, in this program, in this Family Collective, outside of just funding. So that's what we do. But when you look at service implementation, so this right here, I know there's a lot going on, so bear with me here. This is what we're saying that our Family Collective offers to families. So you've heard that we work to prevent and end family homelessness, and you're like, how do you do that? This is primarily how we do that. The family is at the core of all that we do. We want the family to lead this work. We don't want to lead them. We want it to be client-led and informed by the family based off of what they need. So we serve families in primarily two different ways. The first way is we can serve families where they live. So if a family is homeless or living on the street or in their car, we can serve them wherever they're at. We can go to them. If they're renting, if they're owning their own home, or if they're doubled up means if they're living with friends or family, we can serve them in those situations. The other big way that we serve families is through hubs, or these main points throughout the community, like community centers, family resource centers, schools, and early learning centers. And at those sites, we have people like, you'll hear from Nicole Bailey here in just a minute, who are embedded at those sites and in those communities that are there and available to serve from that space. But how does it work? So the primary point of contact for most people in the Family Collective and one of our programs at these agencies is their family coach. So that is really the person that is with them from beginning to end. They enroll them in the program, they meet with them, they do assessments, and they really see where the family's at and what does the family need. And then they connect them to all these other, if you think of these as pizza slices on this page, they connect them to all the other pizza slices and all the other wraparound services that they want or need. So, a big piece of that is housing navigation. So if you have a family who is doubled up, let's say they're living with a grandparent, or maybe they're living in their car and they need housing quick, we have housing navigators that can work with them to rapidly rehouse them and find them housing. Family engagement. Again, you'll hear from Nicole in just a minute, but family engagement is about really engaging the community, building social capital to create a community beyond just your immediate family or even immediate friends. We know that it takes a community to really survive. And when things get hard, when you have emergencies, when things come up, you need a community. And that's really imperative to kind of moving out of this cycle. So family engagement is about creating events and creating time to build that social capital with people in the communities that they're in. And also, connecting them to resources that they need. But then employment navigation. So, if somebody needs help finding a job, maybe they want to go back to school and be a nurse. Maybe they need help working on soft skills or building a resume. We have employment navigators available to help with those things. Mental health counseling, this is new, we're excited about it. But we have 2 mental health counselors that are now available and will be available soon for all the families in the Family Collective. Anyone who's interested, it is not required, none of these pieces are required. But if they are interested, they are able to access a mental health counselor at any point. And then financial counseling. So the Financial Empowerment Center, which you may be familiar with, is a part of United Way as well. And we have a financial counselor dedicated to our families who can work with them on creating a budget, income and expenses. How much money do you really have to work with each month? Maybe they've got a lot of medical debt and there's a lot of things they can do to address that medical debt. Increasing credit scores, things like that. So that financial counselor is there to help with those things. And then we also want to make sure, if possible, we want families to have access to childcare, after school care, summer care, and financial assistance. So let's say somebody's renting an apartment and their lights have been shut off and they're about to be evicted. There is financial assistance that we have that's available to prevent that eviction, to prevent them from becoming homeless. So when we talk about prevention, that's really what we're talking about. But this is kind of just the big scope of what we do. And families might not access all of these things, and most of the time they don't. Most of the time they come in needing 2 or 3 of these pieces. And then maybe a year later, they need 2 or 3 other pieces. Maybe they just come in and they just need housing navigation and coaching. So it really is tailored to the family. And we do want to make sure that what we're providing is very specific to their situation. So I know that's a lot of information, but in a nutshell, that is the Family Collective. That is what we do. I think I am going to turn it over back now to Megan. And if you have questions, I'll be available here at the end to answer any of those questions.
Yes, great. Thank you, Nicole. I think your point is so well made that it is difficult to sort of understand all of the initiatives and all of the programs happening in United Way. And thank you so much for sort of explaining how United Way of Greater Nashville is involved in this work. And I think we'll touch on this more later, but and our role in really helping to drive the collective impact and the collaborative effort that it requires to tackle something as difficult and as nuanced and as layered as family homelessness. So thank you for that. I'm going to send it over to another United Way friend just down the road. Kristen Swan joins us from United Way of Rutherford County, and she is the coordinator of the Family Collective there. Kristen, would love to hear what this looks like in a different community and how we sort of work together within this network of United Ways.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. I'm happy to be here today to share a little bit about what's going on in Rutherford County. So just a little bit of background and history. We are brand new to the Family Collective. I just started in this role yesterday, but I've been with United Way for a while now. I would say probably over a year ago, we were contacted by our friends at United Way of Greater Nashville about expanding this program into Rutherford County. We had heard about the program. We knew there were some great things going on in Davidson County. And just like Megan said, family homelessness is such a nuanced and layered thing that there is no silver bullet. There's no one thing that can fix family homelessness. So we were really excited to jump on with this work and see how it could help families in Rutherford County. And so I wanted to share a little bit of information about Rutherford County. So first of all, we are the United Way of Rutherford and Cannon counties. We do serve Rutherford and Cannon with our programs and direct assistance. But for this initiative, we are just focusing on Rutherford to begin with, since we are, so new to this, to kind of get our feet wet and learn. So I wanted to share some information about Rutherford. 47% of our population lives at ALICE or below, and ALICE is a term that you might be familiar with: asset limited, income constrained, and employed. Formerly people might refer to this population as the working poor, but we really use this term to identify families that are working, but are not able to live at the true cost of living in our community. So this number makes up those who are living at the poverty line or below, but also are living at a threshold where they can't survive based on the true cost of living in Rutherford County. And you guys know, I know everyone here is in Middle Tennessee. The cost of living has certainly risen over the past few years, the cost of housing. And so we know we have a lot of families who are really just one crisis away from, something catastrophic happening, like losing their housing. I also wanted to share with you guys, and this number comes from our friends at Legal Aid in Rutherford County. So they represent clients in evictions court. And I was speaking to them recently, and this is an approximation, but about 10,000 evictions are performed per year in Rutherford County. And so I think sometimes when we think about homelessness, we have a certain image in our mind of what a homeless person or family might look like. But realistically, when someone falls on hard times or has some type of crisis and can't pay their rent, they're really only at sometimes a few weeks away from effectively being homeless and being evicted. And so I just kind of wanted to share that number. It's very eye-opening. The last thing I wanted to share specific to Rutherford County is that we currently, as of yesterday, have 598 students who are in our ATLAS program, which is the homeless program for students in Rutherford County schools. So that the ATLAS program is our McKinney-Vento liaison for the county schools. I will tell you this number is very low this year. And we know that it's because of COVID, because of parents not reporting or not enrolling their children in the ATLAS services. It's typically over 1,000, over the past few years. And speaking with this representative, we know that this number is low. But we know that we have families, and like Nicole was just sharing, again, when we consider a student homeless, that's because they don't have a permanent address. So they may not, be living unsheltered, but they may be living with a family member, or they may be living couch surfing, if you will, and kind of going from place to place. And so, of course, that really causes them to miss a lot of school because they don't have that permanency and that stability. So that's kind of what Rutherford County looks like. And to me, these three bullet points, if you will, are why. This is why we wanted to become involved with the Family Collective. We know we have families in our community who are just really struggling to kind of make it. So that's kind of our why and why we wanted to be involved with this. Our history with the United Way of Greater Nashville is great. We have a wonderful partnership with them with our VITA program, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. So we're part of that. We are part of the 211 network as well. And so I really think that a part of the collective approach is looking also regionally, because we have so many people that are transient, and we know that folks that maybe are in Davidson might move to Rutherford, or vice versa. And we know that that happens quite often. So there's definitely, and I think we'll talk about this more in the panel discussion, but there's definitely a lot of value in partnering regionally with this type of work. So specifically in our county, we will have coaches like Nicole just talked about with Community Helpers of Rutherford County. Those coaches are being identified. They are not currently there. We're working on getting those put in place, but we're excited. So community helpers, really their number one goal is eviction prevention. So they're helping people in a time of crisis. And this grant and opportunity is going to allow them to really help families kind of move past that initial crisis into a place of stability. So we're really excited about that partnership. Again, like Nicole brought up, we will have a mental health provider, a family engagement specialist, and a housing navigator. We're just working on identifying what that looks like in our community. And I will say I'm so grateful to the United Way of Greater Nashville, because we know that our communities don't look the same. We don't have the same services. We don't have all of the same access for clients here in Rutherford County. And so they have been very intentional with working with us to make sure that these positions really fit the needs of our community. And I think that is so important, because we all have the same goal to prevent family homelessness. So I think that we're very excited. We truly are babies. We're in the infancy stage of this work, but we're really excited. So.
Great. Thank you so much, Kristen. I love that you officially started in this role yesterday. way to really jump in.
Yes.
But that is wonderful. And I think it's fascinating to sort of know and understand how United Ways work together. There are so many, in a state with so many counties, there are so many United Ways, and we are working together because we know that even though our communities look different, that community conditions are the same. And so using those best practices and utilizing each of our strengths and skills is what makes us better and make lasting change. So thanks for being a part of that. Last but certainly not least, I'm going to turn it over to the other Nicole Bailey. As Nicole Peacepinnen mentioned, United Way of Greater Nashville, we don't do a ton of direct service or sort of client-to-client interaction and service provision, but that is not the case of our friend Nicole Bailey. Nicole is boots on the ground, heels on the ground, whatever you're feeling that day, doing this work entrenched with families. And so we're really excited to have you and to hear your perspective of what sort of this big picture stuff looks like when we funnel it down and really work at that level with families, with individuals, with children. So thanks for being here and sharing your experience.
Thank you for having me. Okay, so as Megan mentioned, I'm the Family Engagement Specialist. I am an employee of Catholic Charities, and I am stationed at the Magruder Family Resource Center. So within the Family Collective, our program is broken down into hubs. So with every Family Resource Center, we're paired with an early learning childcare center. So at the Magruder Resource Center, we follow that same hub model where we bring various community partners together to provide services that address the needs of North Nashville community. So our on-site partnerships and programs include our North Nashville Outreach Program, which provides basic needs such as food, household goods and services. We provide youth programs with our Preston Taylor Ministries. They do after school care and also summer program. We have workforce development program on site. And under that program, currently we have a sewing and training academy. We have a culinary arts program and a bilingual banking program. We have an art program that is run by our TSU gallery director, Courtney Adair Johnson and Marlos Evans. And we have an entrepreneurship program, which is run by Corner to Corner. And then of course, we have homeless prevention services, which is Catholic Charities, which we still call ourselves a family empowerment program, but we're under the Family Collective. And we provide housing court, housing support, and expanded coaching services. And all of these resources at the Magruder Family Resource Center are services that I can utilize to refer my clients to help expand the service opportunities that they need. So as an engagement specialist, I provide case management, resource coordination, and family-focused event planning. So what does case management look like? So case management, like you said, on the boots, I'm interacting with the clients. Initially, when they come into the program, I start the program enrollment as doing intake. And in intake, I am trying to get an assessment of their current needs. I am trying to put together some goals for them. And we want all of the clients' goals to be goals that they have identified on their own. So normally I would look at what their current situation is. Sometimes clients are very self-aware, they know what their goals are and they can just spell it out. Sometimes they're not so sure. And so as a coach, that's where I come alongside them. And I always tell them, I'm coming alongside you to help you identify what your needs are. And then I will identify what I think they can do to help them maximize those goals. And sometimes there are things that I notice just in conversation that they may not pick up on. And I'll try to kind of coach them into exploring different areas based on their skill sets or interests, and provide ideas on, hey, maybe you should think about doing this or connecting with this resource, and then this can lead you to attaining this, that, or the other. We also look at career development. So I will, I'll find out what their educational goals are or their professional goals, and then I will refer them to our employment navigator, who is a part of our care team. And he will then take over and help them in finding employment opportunities, creating resumes, and reducing barriers, which I'll touch on in a minute, that would prevent them from being able to attain those educational goals. And then the same for our financial counselor. If a client is in a place where they're, are able to make sufficient income and are able to create a budget, then we'll let them work with our financial counselor to work on credit repairment. They can look at budgeting, creating a savings plan, reducing debt. So those are all the things that our care team works on together. Outside of our initial assessment, once they're fully enrolled in the program, then I try to meet with them or at least check in with them once a month. And then I also meet with our care team. And meeting with the care team is very important because sometimes our clients need that motivation. And even though you refer them, they may not always follow up. So by touching base with the care team, we're able to sit down, review the goals that the clients have made, and then just provide whatever suggestions that we each may have to then bring that back to the client. And that's what I address with them in their case management sessions. So one of the things that we'll discuss in the case management and also in our care team meetings are barriers that affect our clients. And this, I think, is, when it comes to case management, this is really the foundation for the program, because we're trying to eliminate barriers that our population is facing. So when it comes to housing, so Catholic Charities has a housing specialist, and that housing specialist will advocate with the landlords. They'll identify housing needs. And so if one of my clients is in need of housing stability, I refer them to that housing specialist. So some of the barriers that we find in housing is financial documentation. A lot of our clients don't have documentation that they can use to apply for an application. I'm dealing with a client right now who we were trying to get into an apartment, and they asked for income verification. He's self-employed. And so we're trying to get all of his records together. Also, he receives Social Security benefits, and the paperwork that the Social Security office gives him, it goes to a specific card, and the apartment complex wouldn't accept it. And so we're sitting here trying to work around that challenge. All he needs is a house, and he has the money there, but because he doesn't meet that criteria, it was a barrier for him. Criminal history. So even if a client has gotten themselves back on their feet, but they have a extensive criminal background in apartment complex, we'll probably say based on our requirements, they're not able to reside here. Employment history, if they have a disruptive employment history, even if they're currently working, because there's been a break in that employment history cycle, that will prevent them. Also, lack of income or sufficient income. As was mentioned, it's expensive to live here. I'm not from Nashville, and it is shocking to me how expensive it is to live here. And our clients, especially if they're low income, the amount of money that they're making and the cost of living, it just doesn't equate. So that is, I would probably say, one of the biggest barriers when you're requiring that a client is making 2.5 to 3 times the rent. Then when we look at employment, one of the biggest barriers that the employment navigator and I have addressed is childcare. There are many clients that want to work, but they do not have adequate childcare, or they can work, but they won't have the money to also pay their rent and also pay for childcare. And now with COVID and everyone being at home, that barrier is just increased dramatically because everyone has to be at home with their children. Transportation. A lot of clients are wanting to work, but they don't have a job. They're requesting jobs on the bus line. We've actually now just started working with our employment navigator to help our clients get driver's license so that we can remove that barrier. And for financial counseling, honestly, it's very difficult for us to get our clients to go to financial counseling. They know they need it. So that's where, again, we work as motivators to try to get our clients to understand the importance of creating a budget, opening a bank, remove that distrust that they have of the banking system, create a savings plan, and reducing debt. So aside from case management, then I also provide resource coordination. So I work with all of the, as much as possible, I work with the different organizations within the Magruder Family Resource Center, as well as any other community partners that can help me in, number one, addressing my family's goals, but number two, helping me to create events, because my role incorporates event planning as well. So one of the things that I try to do when I create my events is to make sure that I am addressing the needs of my clients and not just putting on an event for the sake of saying I've met my 6 events quota for the year. So I find that case management often plays a central role in how I plan my events, because I'm monitoring my clients' needs, I'm listening to their interests, I'm noticing barriers, and then I try to create, in collaboration with other partners, programs, events, or opportunities that would benefit our clients. And I do believe that opportunities and exposures are one of the biggest barriers that our clients have, because sometimes that's the only thing that separates us from them is opportunities. So case in point, I will use a client that I was working with last year. We planned an event this year, but she called me one day. It wasn't a scheduled case management event, but she just called out the blue, and it seemed like she just wanted to get some things off her chest. And a lot of clients do that. They just want someone to talk to. So she was just discussing how she felt like she had lost her sense of femininity, being a woman. She used to take care of herself. She does it now. Talked about prior experiences that played a huge role in how she felt at that present moment in time. And as a woman, I was able to relate to those different things. And I started thinking, and I'm like writing vigorously everything she's saying. I'm like, this is really good stuff. This is something that should be shared. And I, went over it with some friends and some other colleagues and said, what do you think about these talking points? And it led to us planning a women's conference. And I did that in collaboration with the client. This is how I look at promoting self-determination and empowerment with our clients. So not just me planning an event because I want to, but also bringing the clients in as well. I allowed her to be a featured speaker. I allowed her to realize that she has what it takes to be a public speaker. And then we were also able to address the greater needs of the community. So when it comes to what we want to accomplish as an organization, I would say that I want to make sure that we are maximizing our empowerment with the community. We want to make sure that we are increasing community engagement with our partners, and just also making sure that we're listening to the voices of the individuals within the program, that it's not us planning things for them, but it's us listening to them and then creating opportunities on their behalf. So when it comes to individuals in the community that would like to see what they can do to help assist us in doing these things, I would say just offering your resources, offering your skill sets, because those are things that we need. Those are things that we rely on, because we know that to create good events and to create good resources, it takes pulling from the skill sets and expertise of everybody else in the community. And sometimes that's also financial resources, because sometimes there's things that we would really like to do and we know we can do it big, but we may not always have the financial resources that we need to pull it off. So people willing to come on board and partner with us helps us to create those better opportunities and resources for our clients. Thank you.
That's amazing. I have a feeling that everyone that's on this call is probably like me right now and thinks like, Nicole must be the busiest woman in the world. And I think it's really important to point out that ending homelessness is not as simple as, Oprah style, like you get a house and you get a house. There are so many pieces that go into it. And if we are providing a physical resource like a house, but not sort of, Nicole, to use your words, coming alongside these families and ensuring that they have the opportunity to access the soft and hard skills, employment, education, childcare, that it doesn't matter if we get them in a house. That house will be gone in 30 days because there's no plan for sustainability and plan for how am I going to keep this house and plan and budget and maneuver my life around this long term. And so that's why everything that you shared is so important, because it isn't just about getting someone housed. It's making sure that that family is empowered to keep themselves in that house if that's what they choose to do. So thank you for explaining that. It is a lot of work. I got a very strong visual, at the circus, the person that's like spinning the plates and you're going over here and spinning this one. I know that has to be what you're doing every day. So thank you. It's important work, and we're so grateful. At this point, we've got a few questions that we're going to talk about, or the panel is going to talk about together. And then we've got some good questions that have populated through the Q&A. I will circle back to those as well, but to kind of kick us off, and we'll do this popcorn style, anybody answer it as you so feel. There may be some on the call that work with clients at risk of or experiencing homelessness, particularly right now during COVID, when so many people are struggling maybe for the first time to pay their rent or pay their mortgage. So question to you all, what are the eligibility requirements and how do families enroll within the Family Collective? How do we give a family someone like Nicole?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the primary things that are requirements or eligibility requirements to be in one of these programs, first, we serve families. A lot of our funding is from Department of Human Services, which comes from TANF money, which is also called Families First. There's a lot of acronyms in social services, but because of that, we can only serve families. And what that means is an adult 18 or older with a child 18 or younger in the household. It does not have to necessarily be their biological child, and we don't ask for legal documentation that they are their sole provider. So it could be a grandparent caring for grandchildren. It could be an aunt or an uncle or a family friend taking care of one or more children. But that would be the first piece. They have to be an adult with a child, at least one child or more in the household. That also includes, it could be a pregnant mother. So if we have a mother, we see many individual, women that are pregnant, and we consider them a family and we can serve them. So that's part one. Part two is income eligibility. So families have to be at 250% or below of the federal poverty level. And so those really are the two primary pieces that, for eligibility. How do you get enrolled? There are a couple of ways you can get involved. If you're experiencing, and this is for Davidson, I just want to state because our new counties are so new, only a month old, we haven't really figured out a way to market and talk about how to get enrolled in these other counties. If you are in one of these surrounding counties, feel free to reach out to me or someone at the Family Collective. We'll get you connected. But for Davidson County, if you're experiencing a housing crisis, the primary way you'd get enrolled in that sense would be calling the coordinated entry number, which we can provide to you all. So we can make sure that that gets out, but that's one way. The other way would be at one of our sites. So as we mentioned earlier, we have these hubs or these family resource centers, these community centers in different parts of Davidson County. So if you are in one of those areas and you can easily get to, for instance, if you're in North Nashville and you can get to Magruder, you can go to Magruder or call or email, and you can potentially get involved that way. So really two ways. If it's a housing crisis, you're homeless, you can call coordinated entry. But if you have housing, and maybe you are needing to work on some of these other things we've talked about, you can go to one of our sites and get connected that way.
Thank you. That's helpful, and excited to see that sort of come together in these other counties and creating that system as well. The next question, what are some outcome, either stories or statistics that you can share about the impact of the Family Collective? I know that might right now just be specific to Davidson because it's just been around a little bit longer than a month, but what are some of those outcomes or stories that you can share as a result of this work?
I've got some numbers I can show. And then if Nicole, if you have any success stories you have off the top of your head, maybe after, if you want to share one of those. But let me share my screen real quick and I can just show some data. Can you all see that? Okay. So this is as of June. We will be updating it soon. But so since 2014, the Family Collective has served 1,207 families. You know, when we talk about demographics, this is kind of just a good look at the majority of the adults and how they identify. So about almost 80% of the adults that we serve identify as Black or African American, and then about 17.5% identify as white. And the primary age of the families that we serve are anywhere from, most of them are from 20 to 39 years old. Now we've had, and most of them are females, as you can see. We've had somebody ask before if we only serve females or only serve people of a certain race or ethnicity. Absolutely not. This is just who right now and throughout the course of our programs, this is the primary, group of individuals that we have served. And same for children. It's pretty similar as the adults. The demographics look pretty similar. But, it is interesting. Most of the children that are in one of our programs are anywhere from 1 to 10 years old. So they do tend to be in that early childhood stage. Events. So we have had 372 total events with 1,779 adults that have attended and 2,223 children that have attended. That is a lot of events. So Nicole is a huge reason that we've had so many events. She's incredible at what she does. So thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome.
Housing, we have housed, and this is collectively through all of our agency partners, we've housed 577 families, prevented 549 families from becoming homeless. So again, that it would be an example of prevention would be somebody's in an apartment and their lights have been turned off and we prevent them from being evicted. Currently, we're working with 97 landlords. It on average takes about 98 days from the time someone enters the program to be housed. And then 53% of families are housed within 60 days or less. This number has come down since COVID. It's been a lot harder to work on some of these pieces just this year. The barriers are increasing. The amount of people needing help is increasing. So hopefully our goal is to definitely get that percentage up. School transfers. So 89% of families that are a part of the Family Collective have made a supported school transfer. And really what that means is that if they have to change schools in the middle of the year, their parents or caregivers, their family coach, their supports at the school, all of these key people in their life are coming around them to support this transfer, to make sure that there is no dropping through the cracks, that they are not missing out on anything in terms of education in that transfer time, that, you know, any barriers that might be included in that transportation if they're in a new place, anything like that, that their kind of care team comes around alongside of them and supports this school transfer. So that's what that means. Adult education. So 27 adults have enrolled in higher education programs and 7 have completed them, which some people, it is a lot bigger of a number than you realize when you think about how big of a task that is, to actually complete your higher education. So we're very, very excited for those families. And then lastly, financial skills. So 24 clients have increased their credit score pretty significantly. We've had 13 clients open new bank accounts. 59 clients have addressed delinquent accounts. 24 clients have reduced their ultimate debt. And then 6 clients have saved more than $52,000. So again, these numbers are incredible if you think about the amount of people that actually go to the financial counselor. It does tend to be lower because nobody likes to talk about their finances. But this is huge considering the amount of people that go and that see the counselor. So just something we wanted to share.
That's amazing. Thank you, Nicole. Oh, I'm echoing. Next question, and then I will, after this question, I will switch over to Q&A because we've got lots of questions there. But a question to all of you, specifically, you know, Kristen and Nicole Bailey. We've talked about sort of collective impact, and if you're in the social service world, that's a big word and it's a big buzzword. You know, oh, collective impact, that's what we're doing, that's what we're seeking. But from your all's perspective, what is the benefit of approaching this work as a collective? How does working together within this cohort strengthen the work at every level, from backbone support at United Way of Greater Nashville to Nicole Bailey, what you do at Magruder every day? What from your perspective is the benefit of approaching it in this collaborative way?
Well, for me, the benefit is that you're not doing it alone. You know, oftentimes as an individual, or even as an organization, you like to have ownership of your program and say, this is something that I did. But if you're trying to maximize benefits to your client, then you want to have as many people coming to the table where they're each able to bring their skill sets. I can have an idea and that idea can be great, but it can be better if other people are able to come to the table and tell me their ideas and pull from other resources that they have. They can connect me to somebody else can connect me to somebody else. So as one person says, it's not like how many people you have on the bus, but it's who you have on the bus. So back to bringing the key players at the table, I think just makes it so much easier to get your work done. And you're able to do more by having everyone work together, everyone sharing the same objective, versus me, like if it's direct service, trying to refer a client somewhere where the referral source may not be invested in those clients' needs. But if we're a part of a collective, everybody's working with that client from day one. So we're all working together to help that client achieve that goal. And we have an invested interest in that client. And then from the family engagement perspective, it's just helping to better move our communities forward. And so everyone's working together to do that.
That's great.
Let me unmute myself. I think from the bigger scale, it's so important for us to have a partner in United Way of Greater Nashville who's done this work, who can help us, to expand the program into Rutherford County. We're very much in a learning space, and we've had the opportunity to kind of learn from what they've done, and I think that's huge, and it's super critical. But the other thing I think, and we see this a lot in social services in our community, and I feel that it's probably common in others as well, is that, this approach for a family is so client centric, and it's so, that it's really putting the family's needs first. And I think that's really important because what we see here locally is folks, we have tons of wonderful services, but they're being kind of sent all over the place. And I think having that coach like a Nicole to develop a relationship with that family is really going to be more impactful in the long run. And so instead of a band-aid approach, like we're going to help you one time and we're never going to see you again, they're able to build a relationship and really understand that they have an opportunity to improve their life and have kind of that more sustainability and stability. And I think that is really, really important because I think that Nicole mentioned this earlier, but it's very traumatizing for someone to have to kind of constantly be going to these services. So I think that's why we're really excited about their program and the collective approach.
All right, Nicole, anything to add to that before we go to the Q&A? No? Oh, yeah.
I'll say real quickly, I think, just echoing it, but this is not something anyone can do alone. United Way of Greater Nashville cannot end and prevent family homelessness alone. No agency individually can do it. And I think what we're hoping to do is just encourage this collective and collaborative effort between our community of Nashville and beyond, because it really will take all of us working on this and giving intention around it to make a difference. So I think that's why this is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as we've seen in the last 56 minutes of this call, one community condition, it has so many symptoms. There are so many pieces of the pizza or the puzzle, whatever you want to call it, that build into creating one community condition. And it's like an IKEA table, right? Like you can't build section 2A C74 without also doing 2, 3, 4, 8 CD. And so I think that is the power that you all have referenced of this collective is we're bringing everybody to the table to build this incredibly complicated dresser from IKEA that shouldn't be this complicated, but it is. And it's going to take all of us sort of leveraging those strengths and having conversations. Nicole Bailey, I thought you said it beautifully when I might have an idea that's great, but if I bring it to this table, I know it's going to be better. And I think that really sums up collective impact right there. So kudos to you all for explaining this difficult concept. We are quickly running out of time, but one question that's in the Q&A that I thought would be great for you all to address is sort of the flip side of the eligibility is how are your community partners chosen, or how do you choose which agencies are a part of this collective, or how does an agency become a part of this collective?
Yeah, that is a great question. We don't necessarily have a traditional RFP process. It's really been about getting connected to community members. I think we really start with seeing where the barriers are, where the gaps are, and assessing that, and then going out and actively looking for partners in those areas to fill the gaps. If you are a community agency or a partner in the community and you feel like you would be a great fit and you think that you are interested in being a part of this work in the Family Collective, definitely you can reach out to us. I will put it here in the answers, but Rod DeVore is our director, and I can provide you with his email address to reach out if that is something you're interested in connecting with us about.
Great. We had 2 questions in there that I typed an answer to, but did want to share. Someone asked how someone in need experiencing homelessness or other outside of the counties that we've talked about today can receive assistance. That is what our 211 network is for. Kristen mentioned it. So anybody across Greater Nashville, Middle Tennessee can call 211 or use the 211 database that's online. We have folks there that are ready and willing to take calls and help folks based on what it is they say they need specific to their community. So you can call and say, I live at zip code 55555, I need food, I need utility assistance, and that's exactly what those folks will do. They'll connect you to resources specific to your community. Someone also asked to repeat the income requirements for the program. And Nicole, correct me if I'm wrong, but families served by this program should be at 250% and below the federal poverty line. Is that correct?
Yes, and
Okay.
have a child in the home 18 or younger.
Have a child in the home, families only, 18 and older with a child in the home. Great. And then last but not least, I did want to follow up. I'm going to drop this phone number in the chat to all of our attendees. Nicole Peaceman mentioned something called the coordinated entry system that is specific to Nashville. So if you or someone you know is experiencing a housing crisis now, so it is Tuesday and we don't know where we are staying Tuesday night, this is the phone number that you're going to want them to call. Again, it's a coordinated system of all of our shelter providers here in Nashville. So Men and Women's Rescue Mission, Safe Haven, Room in the Inn, Salvation Army, that's going to connect you to those wait lists, tell you where you can go to get a bed for the night, but then also connect you to services like the Family Collective so that you can get that case management support. So jot that phone number down. It is the first line of defense that you want to give to anybody that is experiencing an immediate housing crisis. And we will send all of this out in a follow-up email. You'll receive contacts for all of the amazing panelists that have been on the call today, as well as the coordinated entry line and how folks can access services that are needed specifically in Davidson County, where some of these are more established. So we are officially over the 11 o'clock hour. I do this every time. I will wrap us up quickly. A big thank you, we'll start there, to Nicole, and Kristen for being with us today. I know I speak for all of us when I say that we're so grateful for this work that you're doing. Family homelessness is something that I think rests on everyone's hearts deeply, because it is just so, it is troubling to know that there are children and families sort of struggling to maintain consistent housing and everything that comes along with it. So thank you for taking this challenge head on. Thank you for your commitment to work together, to say, I alone cannot solve this issue. And so it's going to take a lot of brains at the table to get it done. It's especially important right now during the pandemic, when so many are struggling, especially for the first time, and learning for the first time how difficult it actually is to connect to services. So thank you for that great work. Thank you for everyone that's still on the call. Thank you for your time and for your approach to listening and learning. This recording will be available later in case you'd like to send it to someone else who might be curious to know what the Family Collective is all about. And last but not least, today's tour actually wraps up the Tour Tuesday series for the year. We know that December is a busy month for everyone, and you might have 30 vacation days left because you didn't go anywhere this year. So we're going to take December off, and we hope to resume in 2021, albeit virtually, but hope to continue bringing you access to some of these incredible panelists and those that are doing this great work here in Nashville and beyond. So thank you, and we will see you in 2021. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.